Welcome back to Lenz Comic Corner Classics slash Non-Classics. This is episode number 1025 and Doubleshot number 919. Two volumes of Suicide Squad. You're probably thinking, is it from the New 52 run, Rebirth run? Nope, it's from the original run. Yep, first up, let's start with the first trade of Suicide Squad. The collections from the first volume. Now, this is technically the second time this trade has been published. This one has a little more issues than the original trade did. Yes, well, I heard with the original trade, it only collected the story that's in here, Secret Origins 14, and it also collected the first 6 issues of the series. I'm thinking, why the heck would they step up to 6? And as far as I know, after this, DC never did another volume for years until this volume came out. This came out in... This was released in 2015. Yes, this was released roughly 4 years ago. The issues themselves came out in the year of 1987. Now, this series, of course, it was created by the awesome John Ostrander. He's the sole creator of the Suicide Squad. The artwork, for the most part, is done by Luke McDowell. Now, some of the writing in here is done by... for these issues alone, it's all John Ostrander. He doesn't have a co-writer at this point. He does have it later on. The other artwork in here is done by, it's actually 3 other artists in here: Bob Lewis, Carl Kitzler, and Dave Hunt. The cover art here is done by Luke McDonald and Carl Kitzler. Mostly put for these issues. Now, the Secret Origins issue is pretty much basically the prelude to this ongoing series. That's simply put what this issue is. It's necessary to read this issue. If you get this thing individually, you got to get this issue because it pretty much explains stuff. Some stuff that's mentioned here is actually mentioned in the issues themselves. Pretty much you get backstory on the original Suicide Squad from World War II, which recently the era has been collected in trade in the Suicide Squad Silver Age book. Yep, they reference that. They reference sometimes the Forgotten Warrior stuff. The Forgotten Heroes. Yep, and of course they also have Amanda Waller's backstory in here. Because why not? John Ostrander created the character, so why not? So we got new Suicide Squad up front, which the lineup for the start of the series is the following. Well, with Amanda Waller being in charge, you have Rick Flag, the Enchantress, Bronze Tiger, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang. There's a woman here named Mindbog who actually gets killed off by issue 2. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it for the lineup. And that's just the first couple issues. And that's just the first couple issues because they change artists about partway through. Oh, those of you who ever seen the Justice League TV show, and you're familiar with the War Wheels from that 3-part, I believe this ended the first season of the first Justice League show. You're thinking of the War Wheels. Basically, their creation. They're from the comics, and they originally look like this. That is a War Wheel. Yeah, this thing's from the pages of Blackhawk. Yes, the Blackhawk comic from the 50s. Yes, a comic that basically was in World War II, comes out in the 50s. Yeah, that was a thing basically like this. Also, here's the cover for the very first issue of the ongoing series. Yes, the cover was remade. Was made a homage to the first issue of the most recent volume for the series, which ended at 50 issues. Now, pretty much, the team that's pretty much in these issues, aside from the people on the cover, I think there's like one other person, if I'm not mistaken, that joins this group. We also have a guest star appearance by the Parasite. Now, those of you familiar with the Parasite being just a Superman villain, believe it or not, this Parasite, which is the second Parasite by the way, he was originally a Firestorm villain. He became a Superman villain in the 1990s. This guy made his debut in the 80s. If you're wondering what the heck this guy originally, you're probably thinking, this guy was always purple because the Parasite's always purple. Not for this guy. This guy is green. Yes, this is the Parasite. Don't worry, this is not his only appearance in the series. He actually makes a return later on in the series. Yes. If you're wondering who created this Parasite, it was John Ostrander. Yes, he created this guy. Oh yeah, they also have Plastique in here. Yes, Plastique is a character from the Firestorm comics. And as far as I can tell, I think this is a character created by Jerry Conway. Let me look her up on here because I believe this character was a creation of Jerry Conway. I'm looking her up right now if I can basically get the page work properly. Okay, here we go. Now, who created the other characters? Bob Haney created the Enchantress. hmm Captain Boomerang was created by a guy named John Broome. hmm Deadshot was created by the same guy who created, believe it or not, Batman. Bob Kang, and I think it was like a couple other people. Rick Flag, this guy here, he was created by. I don't really remember who created him. Let's take a look over here. Here we go. First, okay. Plastique. We also have Nightshade, who joins in the first issue along with Nemesis. She's a creation of Jerry Conway and Pat Broderick. Yes. A character who also would later show up in the pages of, believe it or not, Captain Atom. This woman was also briefly married to him. They got married off screen and they got divorced off screen. It's really weird. hmm Yeah, Mindmonger, basically a character who only exists in these first couple issues. Pops up one at a time and that's it. Yeah, the only members who join these issues are the Black Orchid, Kronos, Nightshade. Yeah, she's a character who's created by Steve Ditko, and the Penguin. Oh yeah, and also in issue 8 we also have Mark Shaw who joins. You're probably thinking, the Penguin, a Batman villain. People forget Deadshot's a Batman villain because he's been heavily associated with Suicide Squad for years. Now, pretty much in the first couple issues, it's a two-parter. Just go to Kuwak. Yeah, it's a reoccurring thing. It's a country that pops up now and again over the years in the pages of DC. It's not mentioned in the current continuity, but yeah, this country has had a few different heads, and it's under dictatorship. Their job is simply put this: just go to the country, rescue, I think it was somebody there, and just take down the group. Now, one of the members, Chimera, is actually freaking Nightshade. Now, Nightshade in here does not have her costume she wear earlier on in the series issue. Yeah, that doesn't happen to the very next issue. Mindmonger herself becomes the first victim of the Suicide Squad. Issue 3 is quite interesting. Anybody who knows Janus, no one ever suspect he would do this. He would have the Suicide Squad go up against the Female Furies, characters who were created by Jack the King Kirby. Oh, and this is after the events of Legends and the Martian, not Martian, the Mr. Miracle special, which it was revealed post-crisis that Big Barda turned against the Female Furies. The Female Furies this point, mostly is comprised of Lasha, Mad Harriet, Stampa, and I don't remember who this woman is, but she's supposed to be like one of the two people who've been leading the team. A lot of times it's been Lasha. Yeah, Lasha later become, believe it or not, a reoccurring character in the page. She become a member of this team for quite some time until they go back to Apocalypse. What's the whole point of this issue? Break out G. Gordon Godfrey, who's been imprisoned in Bell Rev since Legends. Now, it's good the fact Ostrander revisited this character. After all, he did pretty much bring in the post-crisis version of him, so it makes sense the fact he would do this. Oh yeah, her name is Barnadette. That's really her name. Oh yeah, and here's the weird thing about this woman. This woman is Desaad's sister. Yes, I am not kidding about that. Desaad says this woman is her sister. Is his sister, okay. Fine, whatever. Apparently, and also Rick Flag is against what happened to Plastique, where she's having her memory wiped. Yeah. And there's that one point where Karen Grace, who's actually Rick Flag's girlfriend, and she's also the mother of his only child. Yes, he's trying to have a conversation with her, but gets interrupted by Nightshade, who is wearing this costume here. Yep. Now, Nemesis basically is a character who pops in. I don't remember who created this character. Now, he's actually one of the few characters in this book who's actually not a supervillain. Nope. He's a good guy. He's a creation of Kerry Burke and Dan Springle. Yeah. That's who created this guy. This, of course, is Tim Tresher. The other one is Sash Makros. This is a different character. Yeah, it's a woman, I believe it is. Yeah, she's a woman. Yeah, this is Tim Trench, the original one, who also was, believe it or not, at one point a love interest for Wonder Woman. Yeah, I have no idea why. It was something Gail Simone established. Yeah, but I thought it was, yeah. When it comes to this issue, it's a really good idea. The fact they actually have the Suicide Squad fight the female Furies. They wouldn't find them again until like just before the end of the original era for Suicide Squad. Then we have this guy here, some Crusader guy. He pops up for this one issue, and yeah, it's an odd little issue. Then we have the next couple issues where they go to frickin' Moscow, and they fight the People's Heroes, who apparently do not like. Oh, in case you wonder what the Enchantress look like in here, yeah, that's her on the cover. Yes, that look was looking here. Yeah, so they deal with the Russians in here, and they briefly had loose Tim Trench, but he like gets rescued in a few issues after that. Yep, and then pretty much like right after the whole thing with the Russians, which by the way, that takes up about the whole storyline with the Russians. That takes about 3 issues. The last issue has Mark Shaw joining the team, and this is when he's a privateer. Yeah, that was an identity he assumed. That was something Steve Eckelhart did, not his original creator, who, believe it or not, is Jack the King Kirby. Yeah, he created this guy too. Yeah, this is him as the privateer. Yeah, the reason why he was in prison was because of the fact he also posed as a criminal named Starzar. Yeah, he was a criminal, and Martian Manhunter was able to figure out that he was also this guy as well, because apparently whenever when he was around, he was wearing this costume. So yeah, that's the reason why he's here. And the whole point of this issue 8 is to set up next couple issues, which also serve as a backdoor pilot to the Manhunter ongoing series. We'll talk about more about that in the article I got right here. Yeah, he gets to fight Rick Flag, and Rick Flag loses to him because he's got better training than he does. Yeah, Rick Flag may be military, but he doesn't know martial arts very well. Yep. It's a nice little standalone issue to basically end the trade. And also the fact that, well, apparently this also sets up something happens in the next issue involving Mark Shaw and the Manhunters. But this is a good start for this particular era for Suicide Squad. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. I love the artwork in here. Next up is a very confusing story. Because when I read it again recently. Reading this entire thing, it is so confusing. Because there are plots started in here and then they're dropped. Some of whom basically are never even resolved at the crossover. This is Suicide Squad Volume 4, the Janus Directive. Yes, this takes up Suicide Squad issues 26 to 30. Checkmate 15 to 18. Manhunter 14. Firestorm Volume 2 86. And Captain Atom number 30. Now, this whole crossover is mainly done by 3 people. Paul Kupperberg, John Ostrander, and Kim Yale. They're the ones who do pretty much the majority of this whole crossover. The Captain Atom issue has really nothing to do with this story at all. And Firestorm Manhunter is basically them getting involved in this thing. Okay, this storyline is so bizarre, to say the least. And this later led to almost a lot of these titles getting canceled, like a couple of whom like pretty much almost immediately after this thing. Now, Ostrander writes 3 of the titles in here: Suicide Squad, Manhunter, and Firestorm. He was the writer of Firestorm. He was actually the second regular writer of the book after Conway and Joey Conoroff basically left the book. Yep. Captain Atom was mostly done by the same 2 people, Cary Grant and Greg Weisman. Yeah, people know who Greg Weisman is because he's the creator of the Young Justice TV show, and he's also the creator of the series Gargoyles. Yep. The whole thing with this crossover, okay, so apparently it's revealed in here that Checkmate is part of Task Force X, which also includes the Suicide Squad. And apparently we have to evolve Project Atom, which involves Captain Atom. We also have to involve, like, the Firestorm stuff. Yeah, the Firestorm here is really bizarre. Yeah, his involvement here is so weird. Yeah, and the main villain in the storyline is Cobra. Why not? Cobra. An organization also created by Jack Kirby. Yes. Ostrander loves using Jack Kirby stuff. I mean, the Female Furies, Mark Shaw, and of course, Cobra. Yep. Now, there are many different factors that pop up in the story. The story starts out very bizarrely. Okay, there in the first issue, there's the single issue. The 26 has really nothing to do with the actual story. It's basically a prelude issue. It's merely sort of a setup for what happens later. Now, there's this guy in here who's wearing this mask. This character who only shows up in this one issue. Who this man is? Never revealed, because after this part, he is never seen again. He is just dropped. It's like Kelberberg and Ostrander really did not want to work together at all, so they basically write contradicting stories involving this whole thing. Oh, in case you're wondering, who the heck is Duchess holding in her arm? That's a man named Major Victory. He's a head of a group of superheroes who showed up with pages of The Outsiders. Yeah, he's a creation of Mike W. Burr. No, I don't think Jim Aparo created him. Called the Forces of July. They're not part of the military. Nope, they're led by a man who, their boss, is very fanatic about basically protecting the country. Yes. That's the thing when it comes to Forces of July. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, they actually have the real-life president in here. Now, in the first trade, they had Reagan. This one, they actually have President Bush. The first one. The one who died. Actually died just this year. Yep, so checkmate Suicide Squad go after... They have to basically capture General Wade Eiling. Yes, the guy who later became the general of a supervillain in the 2000s. Yep. How he became is quite bizarre. Apparently, he was suffering from cancer, so he really wanted to live and protect his country. So what did he do? Find a shaggy man on the ocean floor. Yeah, this is never explained exactly how this happens. He dredges him up, basically removes like everything related to shaggy man from this creature's body. Also, he shaved all the hair off this thing and transferred his mind to this thing, calls himself the general. Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah, Major Force is in here. This is before that Ron Martz turned him into a murderer, where he basically killed and then stuffed Kyle Rayner's girlfriend in a freaking refrigerator. Yep. And one of the plot points is actually that's seen at the start of the storyline and then is never mentioned until like the very end. Doppelgangers, yes. So they have to have all these intelligence agencies fight each other for absolutely no reason at all. Yep, absolutely no reason at all. So, and of course, Rio Cobra's behind this. Firestorm is recruited into this thing by Flo, yes, a recurring character in this series, who was actually Amanda Waller's cousin. Yes. Yeah, the whole thing with doppelgangers, that's not even brought up until like the end of the toward the end of the storyline, before they have Checkmate, Suicide Squad. They have pretty much like a whole boatload of superheroes go after freaking Cobra. Did the Justice League involved with this? Nope, they're nowhere to be seen in this storyline. Yes. Well, good reason, because it involves all the whole intelligence community basically declaring war on each other. Also, Lois Lane in this storyline, she attempts to get an interview a couple times with the public head of Suicide Squad, this actor. So, goes to get an interview in one issue, and then next time she's getting out of jail. So I'm like, what the heck happened here? Like, you read this, like, was this issue we missed? At what point was she put in a jail cell? I mean, she was going off to get the guy an interview, like, going to get an interview from him, and then she gets released, and then they had to give an injunction against her for a freaking lawsuit? Really? Yeah, this is bizarre, to say the least. Also, we had the freaking Peacemaker shows up in here. Yeah, he's a Charlton character shows up in here. We also have Black Thorn. You don't know who this woman is? Well, let me find her here. Yeah, she's also a creation of Paul Kupperberg. Paul Kupperberg tells us a bunch of characters he has either written or created in this particular storyline. Oh yeah, and if you read the storyline, you probably think you see Harry Bullock in here. as an agent of Checkmate. Why this is? I'm not sure why. I think because people were fans of him, so they decided to have him basically just do whatever the heck he wants. Yes. Okay, here's the frickin' Peacemaker. Yes. This is him fighting Major Force. That is the Peacemaker. Believe it or not, this guy was used as the basis as the frickin' comedian from Watchmen. Yes. No, he's not creation of Steve Ditko. He's actually one of the few Major Charlton characters not creation of Steve Ditko. He had his own miniseries, published by DC back in the 80s. It's a really good miniseries, I recommend it. Kupperberg wrote it. And Kupperberg basically made him a recurring character in the pages of Checkmate throughout its run. But there's one other character. Okay, here she is. Meet? Yeah, this is her right here. This is Blackthorn. She's right here. That's her. She, at one point, was sleeping with the vigilante. Yes. That was the weird thing about this woman. She first shows up, breaks into the man's apartment while he's in his underwear, and then she proceeds to remove her clothes just to have sex with him. For absolutely no reason. Oh, and by the way, these two had sex every issue she was in. Heck, they even had sex prior to him committing suicide issue 50. Why she's here? Probably because Kupperberg liked the character. That's probably the reason why she's here. She doesn't contribute that much to the story at all. Her involvement is minor at best. Yes. I mean, she barely interacts with this whole story. Yeah. Plus, it's great that we actually had Peacemaker fight Major Force. Yeah, this was a really good fight in this series. In this storyline. Yeah, Peacemaker is basically a major player in this story, which my only guess is the reason why that is, and this is my personal theory, because Kupperberg loves his character, so he probably insisted. He probably told Ostrander, yeah, I want to make this guy a major play in the storyline. This way, Ostrander may have never heard of this guy before, so that's probably the reason why. Now, the Manhunter's involvement here feels like a very last-minute decision, because you read this issue, you're like, okay, it feels like a regular Manhunter issue if you read the Manhunter book. He goes after cosmic criminals. You have Amanda Waller just strolls and wearing an outfit she was not wearing in her last appearance. She's wearing a completely different outfit. She's recruited by the Manhunter to hunt down, well, break into this corporation, and also he fakes his death in here so he can infiltrate freaking Cobra. But it's great to see him in costume. This is his costume he wore throughout the entire series. He never changed the costume. And it's a shame that this is the only Manhunter comic ever to receive a collection and trade. That's the weird thing, okay? Yeah. Now, this book, this issue right here, the Firestorm issue, yeah, I'm going to show you Firestorm looks like in here. You're probably thinking, wait, why the heck did Firestorm look like this for? It was something Ostrander did throughout his latter half as well. He made him basically a guy who hated nuclear radiation. Yeah, that's him. He made me an environmentalist for some reason. I have no idea why in the world he thought this was a good idea. This lasted the last couple of years of the book. It started with issue, I think it was 60, and it finally ended with issue 100. We also have Firehawk. Yeah, this is a character given by Jerry Conway, who at one point was in love with Rodney Raymond. Yeah, they never got together. Plus, they were guest star appearance by the frickin' Parasite in the book that he first appeared in, which makes perfect sense he would do that. Yeah, just like a Manhunter, Firestorm feels like very last-minute decisions. Like, okay, we have to throw in Firestorm because, well, it involves the frickin' planet. So let's throw him in here for absolutely no reason at all. So yeah, of course, Cobra being a silent player. We also have this character, Sarge Steel. Yeah, he's not that known of a character in the comics. At one point, he was Wonder Woman's boss in the Wonder Woman comic. Yeah, for some reason, someone had a good idea to name him the head of the Department of Metahuman Affairs. Which, here's the thing. About partway into Gail Simone's run, he got replaced by Steve Trevor as the head of Metahuman Affairs, which the group said was later dropped. But at least got handed to Kupperberg and Ostrander. They basically, for the last couple issues of the storyline, the part 11 really has nothing to do with the storyline at all. It's basically Captain was doing after the storyline. It's a big epic battle that's like a final act of a movie, but it's well done. And it felt as though the writers basically just felt as though, yeah, let's have this ending let's have an awesome battle that takes place in the last couple issues. Oh yeah, and the whole pie gag thing. Yeah, I think that was done. I'm not remember who it was. I think it was explained later on in the series who's behind the pie gag. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Oracle was behind the pie gag. I guess they probably have Lois Lane do it for some reason, like have her basically do it, have her suffer through it. Yeah, and this is pretty much like now because of this whole thing, this is the status quo afterwards. Okay, Sarge Steel is basically made like a member of the cabinet. While Eiling will basically use metahumans for military purposes, and it also has Task Force S is dissolved. Checkmate will basically become an independent agency. Waller is effectively the head of Suicide Squad, which he's basically be very angry about it. Yeah. Oh yeah, and apparently Waller is not very well liked by President Bush. She had no problem with Reagan, but she hates Bush. So Bush hates her. Now the Captain issue is a pure fun issue. It's just Captain versus freaking Black Manta. Yeah, that's how he fights in this issue. And of course he runs to his kids, who by the way, his kids are pretty much like in their 20s. He had not seen these kids since the 60s. Yeah, it's explained in the Captain book apparently disappeared for 20 years. And here's what happened. Eiling married his wife. Yes, he married his wife, and his kids changed their name to Eiling from Adam. Oh yeah, they hate their father for disappearing for 20 years. Well, that was not entirely his fault. It was basically the Captain process that the comics do that. Yeah. Apparently, his son doesn't have a really big problem with him in this issue. His daughter refuses to speak to him. Yes, his own daughter. Yeah. And apparently, there's not mentioned if she had any problem with him marrying a woman who was really like about 20 years younger than he is, and about the same age as his own daughter. Yeah. As for why in the world that they decided to have Plastic and Captain Adam get married, I have no idea what the heck that was about. Now, Major Force after this storyline, Major Victory, yeah, because the fact they decided to have Force July work with Suicide Squad, they have Major Victory, the field leader of the Force July, join the Suicide Squad for a very brief period of time. Now, what happened to these books right afterwards? Well, Suicide Squad managed to last for 36 more issues before it ended. Checkmate managed to last for about 15 issues. Manhunter lasted for 10. Firestorm managed to last for 14 more issues before it ended. And Captain managed to last for 27 issues. So out of all of these, Captain and Suicide Squad basically survived this perfectly fine. Manhunter barely survived a year. Firestorm was a little bit longer, and Checkmate was barely a little bit longer after that. Yep. And also, here's something else Manhunter has a comment. Now, the Checkmate issues in here is the only time you probably would see any issues from the first time Checkmate ever in trade. Because as far as I know, DC has never collected any issues in trade. The Firestorm issue is kind of the same way too, because this technically is the only issue from this volume actually collected in trade, because as far as I know, no other issues collected in trade. As for the Captain issue, I don't think there's any issues of this volume, this series in trade. I don't think so, no. This book has got great artwork in here, but very confusing storylines in here. Yes. The whole thing with that guy who attacked one of the bishops, yeah, who that guy is, never revealed. And apparently the whole thing was being manipulated by Cobra. Why Cobra? My personal guess is because G.I. Joe is popular, so why not have DC's Cobra basically become a major threat to the intelligence community for some reason. I have no idea why this is a good idea. In case you wonder when Cobra finally taken down, they're taking down the JSA vs. Cobra miniseries. A miniseries written by Greg Rucka. Yeah, that's when he had them basically taken down. Yep. Let me give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. I'll give 9.5 like the first trade. Because the storyline is very confusing. In some areas. If you get a chance to see it. But I would say the brightest I would say the characters who got the most to do in the storyline, who actually I love how they did them in here, is I would say the Peacemaker got a lot to do in here. He did a great job in this book. He's probably by far the breakout star of this book, and it's something though this character has never gotten an ongoing series. I don't think he's actually returning for the current continuity. I mean, you had the Question, like heck, Judo Master. Yes, the one who appeared in the JSA and Birds of Prey, the female one. She showed up in the Earth 2 comic. She's been returned. Not the Peacemaker. Nope, not the Pacemaker. Yep. Not much else to say about these two trades, but Shot by Fire is really good. The Janus Directive's okay. It's got great artwork though, and it's a good read, but like, why the heck? The only character I question why the heck she's here is Blackthorn. There's really no reason why she's here. Peacemaker makes sense because of the age of checkmate, but Blackthorn, no idea why this character is here. My only guess is, like I said, she's a creation of Paul Kepberg. He wanted to use her. He liked the character. That's my only personal theory. Yeah, so that's it for this particular review. I'm going to do one more review, and then that'll be it for today. So, until you see you next video. Bye.